Welcome back to the James McGee Show, Wine Wednesday. I am your host. I am James McGee. Grab you a glass of wine. We have Joe Collins and Tom Wells back, and we're going to dive more into what is going on in Memphis with an officer that was killed in the line of duty and a mayor that is talking about gun control that we have some issues with. And there's some things that we dug into that we're going to come back with some more research and some solid answers for them tonight. So tune in. Joe Collins, Tom Wells, they're going to be great as usual.
So you know what that means? Yeah. Wine Wednesday. Join your host, James McGee, for a glass of wine and discussion about current events. No matter what's going on in the world, it's easier to swallow mixed with some wine.
All right, I got Joe Collins. We got stood up by Tom Wells.
Tom Wells. Tank engine, baby. What is going on?
Well, I tell you what, you always with Tom Wells. The only thing you're going to get stood up for is is a train. So
a train took precedence.
Yeah, Tom got tied up on some train work. So I'm sure he'll be back next week. Mm-hmm. So we'll cover what we're drinking. I'm not drinking anything real special, but it is something really good. Behringer Brothers Bourbon Barrel. Now I'll tell you, that is it's about $16. It is one of the absolute best $15 to $20 wines. Now, Joe doesn't hit the jackpot. I'll let Joe tell you.
Here it is, man. So the best place to shop for wine in Texas is Buc-ee's. So I
never knew that.
I didn't either, and I found this one. It's called We the People. I got to get it to the camera right here. It's got
That's perfect.
Got a flag on the bottle, and it's a Cabernet 2020 vintage out of Napa, California, and it was $19 and some change. So I stayed under the $20 mark that was a requirement. So. Well, and it's actually really pretty smooth. So.
I'm going to have to talk to my friend that owns a wine store and see what if he can get that.
And the logo is an elephant carrying a United States flag, baby.
Wow. Now, which Buc-ee's was it?
Boy, it was not. It was between South Padre and Houston. I'll have to look up to see what town it was in.
Now, do you go all the way to San Antonio?
I have before. Yep. So I've gone over there. I was there on Monday, actually.
So that's where it was. That was the original one. That's right before San Antonio.
Yeah, that's in Lulling, Texas, and they're actually building one right next door to the old one. So the old one is still open, and they're building like one that's 5 times as big.
I bet so, because that was the original. Yeah. That was the original one. So
yeah, this one is not that. It was on like 69. I-69, 59 south of Houston, probably about maybe 2 hours south of Houston, heading towards South Padre. So,
all right. So as promised, I dug a little into the Tyree Nichols that happened in February 2023, and I stand corrected. It was I watched tons of video. I did a lot of research. That was one of the worst displays of force that I've ever seen. It was a unit called the Scorpion Unit, which is a street crime unit that was disbanded after that. 5 officers were charged. And Joe, you're going to I'm going to let you comment on this one because you're going to like this one right here. All 5 officers were charged in both state and federal court. So I'll let you comment on that one. The trial is going to be in federal court first in September for 4 of the 5. One of the officers has pled guilty and is expected to testify.
Right.
He was they were in unmarked cars. It was just it was terrible. It was an obvious these were a bunch of rogue cops, cowboys. There's no justification for what they did. They stopped Tyree Nichols. They just bum rushed him. He was shocked. It's still unclear what they were actually stopping him for. There's a lot of inconsistencies, and a lot's going to come out during that trial, and we'll cover more of it. But I wanted to stand corrected when I misspeak, then I'm going to admit it.
Right.
It sounds like that there was definitely some reason for some distrust, but they disband this unit, and this unit, what it was meant for, is something that is effective. I don't believe in, and I think that you probably had to disband it, and then, but I don't know, are they coming back with a newer version with a better management, better leadership? You don't just disband things that are proven over time to work. It's a leadership issue. It is you have to have those kinds of that kind of enforcement. So I'll let you talk about the officers being charged in both state and federal court.
Well, we talked about it last night, right? Is that the problem with the firearm, with the shooting being converted to being a fully automatic handgun, which is illegal, right? And it sounded as though they were going to charge him federally with that, but he was released on the stolen vehicle charges because they did not have the weapons charges in front of the magistrate. So if it's not in front of the magistrate, they can't use it, right? So, and again, bad dude. He deserved what he got. He should have been locked up. But the way our system is designed is that he probably had a rap sheet like 8 feet long as a juvenile. But the day you turn 18, that's not submissible into adult court, right? So they can't look at that. So it sounded as though this was the only thing that kid had on his record. And it's unfortunate that that's the case. And it may be a situation that the way that the system was designed was for the results that they got in this particular situation, which they could have charged him state and federally with the firearms. I always like to charge with everything I had, and then we can work out the details later on if they want to like deal something away, but you can never charge higher than the initial charges, right?
Well, the problem that I have, and I'm sure that you have too, is that charging in state and federal court is obviously not something foreign to the Shelby County District Attorney's Office, because
100%.
they sure charge these 5 policemen with that.
Yep.
So if you're going to, I'm not buying there looks like there's a lot of throwing people under the bus on this deal, and I'm not buying that. I'm just not buying it, because it could have been definitely handled different. And going back to the gun law thing, we hit that hard last night, so I don't need to hit that again. But I'll say it one more time: gun laws is not the problem. The laws are not the problem. I don't think the system's the problem. This is human problem. These are human beings are making mistakes or are doing things that are not consistent with the way that the system is designed.
Right.
And I think that's where the problem lies.
Well, and it's the way that it's interpreted by individuals based on what their screwed up belief systems are.
Yeah.
With lack of better words, it's like that they can manipulate it to meet their agenda, unfortunately.
So I also did some research on this Omaha 360 program. Now, nothing really defined exactly what it is, but what it appears to be is it's a program that that's initiated by police. It involves, it addresses more than just strict enforcement. It addresses socioeconomic issues. It addresses poverty, addresses mental health. It addresses these things, which I think is a good thing. But my point is, like I stated last night, you don't get those returns for a pretty long time. I think that's something that definitely Memphis needs, because what it also does is build community relations and community trust with the police. They are probably, it looks like to me, they have one of the worst in the nation. And what comes with that is definitely low morale with police officers, which contributes to the 500 officers that they're down, which contributes to why they lost a police officer this past week. Yep. So I do think it's a good program, but I think that you can't take the enforcement out of it either.
No, there's got to be a stick, right? So what we're seeing symptoms of an underlying issue that they're not addressing. and they're holding people accountable for crime.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, and I think it's something really has to that really has to be looked at. Now, I think that these officers, from what I'm going to watch it close, but these officers deserve to be charged, and from what it looks like to me, they deserve to go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to say this. I know Tom and I have talked about it, but have you watched the Fall of Minneapolis? Have you watched that documentary?
I have not. No.
So I gave Tom last week. I gave Tom some homework. I told him he had 2 weeks to watch it. I've watched it, Joe, and I'm going to watch it again next time when I watch it. Hopefully this weekend, I'm gonna sit down and take some notes. And I'd like for me and you and Tom to nail it down. Let me tell you, it's alarming. It is one of the most alarming things that I've ever seen. What's more alarming is there's crickets, man. It's crickets, and it looks like one of the biggest injustices I've ever seen, and nobody's saying enough about it. So I'd like for y'all to watch it.
Yep.
I think you really will be interested in it, and let's discuss it, because it looks like these police officers are in prison, especially the other three. Chauvin, I still look. Doesn't matter what Chauvin did. He didn't die of asphyxiation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the court, and there were so many things. I'll let you watch it, but there's so many things that were not allowed in the trial. It looked like the fix was in. They were not going to, because of so much publicity. There was no way, and so much violence over it. There was no way they weren't going to have. They weren't going to come back with a conviction, which is wrong. It's that's when I y'all have heard me get on this kick about police officers. Yeah, police officers are treated different. They are treated different, but not in the way that people claim.
Right.
So what's your take on that?
No, and again, I haven't seen the video and I haven't seen the series, but I think that our society has created, again, I keep going back to the same thing, right? We're perfectly designed for the results that we get. Mm-hmm. And we've created a litigious society where people are afraid to say that they were wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you admit fault, then somebody's coming after you. Rather than having that as a show of strength, is that when we have a growth mindset and we have the ability to accept someone else's opinion and actually then reevaluate what ours are based on new information, that's what we should be doing. But people are afraid of that.
Well, it's real easy to do that, Joe. I mean, I did it tonight. I misspoke last night, and my apologies. I misspoke last night. That's why I want to cover that first. Is that it looks like it looks like an autopsy. They ruled it a homicide. The autopsy said that Tyree Nichols was killed because of blunt force trauma to the head. Which, Joe, I've just never seen anything like this. He was on the ground. An officer runs up that had just got there and kicks him. And then another one is blatantly hitting him in the head with a baton. While he's on the ground, it's just, and let me tell you what, it's real. You can tell it's hard for me to even say it.
Right.
Because it's hard for me to, but hey, it's what it is. And we have to be able to say, as law enforcement supporters and law enforcement leaders and executives, we have to be able to say when somebody's wrong, and these guys were wrong. But on the flip side, who's going to stand up for these guys in Minneapolis and say, hey, hold on a second, how did this happen? There's not enough, to me, there's not enough behind that.
Well, you're right. And it's everybody that's afraid of trying to change the direction of a story.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just a story. How many lives? How many lives of the people that are impacted by this and the ripple effect then? And what it's done to the narrative across the country. That's changed the narrative that we have across the country, that particular situation, based on the way it went.
You're right. So you are out of town. I'm not going to make you show everybody your view that you had tonight. So you are in, where are you at again? You're in
South Padre Island in Texas. So the Texas CIT conference is down here. So I'll be at that Thursday and Friday. I'm doing a presentation and talking about the importance of understanding your physiology and knowing when you're representing as a human being how you want to. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? Is that those officers, they've got to be able to understand when the adrenaline and things are happening that you are reacting inappropriately in a situation. How do you stop that from happening?
So tell us what the CIT conference is and what that stands
right.
for.
So what CIT is critical incident teams, right? And these are the groups of officers and therapists that are trained to understand mental health issues within their community and respond to crisis situations with a higher level of understanding around mental health. So what I talk about is self-care for the officers themselves. It's, that's what I do now, is that I'm more focused internally within organizations to making sure they're taking care of their people versus taking care of the public. But if you're taking care of the people inside the building, inside your organization, they're going to take better care of the communities.
That's 100%. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about right now, is that, accountability. People have to understand whatever side of the badge you're on, is that you've got to be accountable for your actions. And
well, I'm glad you shared that with us.
Yeah.
I want our listeners to know that police officers are getting training in how to deal with not only their struggles, but how to deal with people they encounter who are mentally ill. Now, they're not doctors. They're not going to. We can't. I go back to what we talked about the first time that we did this. We got to quit dumping on the cops, and that doesn't make them a psychiatrist. It just gives them a working knowledge and some tools when they encounter people and how to recognize different mental illnesses.
Right. Well, absolutely.
That alone is big.
Yeah, they're definitely not being trained to not hold people accountable for their actions. It's they're being trained on how to recognize the symptoms that are associated with other behavioral and mental health issues, and then be sensitive to how they communicate with people, but then also recognize what's being said by someone that could potentially help them to help lower the threat possibility, right? In any different type of situation.
No, that definitely makes sense. So, all right. So Tuesday, hopefully you can join us Tuesday. Hopefully we can get the train man back. Hopefully he can fit us in.
Yeah.
And if y'all have a chance to watch that documentary, we will jump into it. And I really think that you will enjoy it. I mean, you won't enjoy it, but you will find it interesting. And
I will.
You will definitely see a different side of it. And my wife and I watched it. We were both just staring at each other saying, how in the fuck are these men in prison? So, but before I get too much into it, I'm going to go back into it. And I'm going to write things down. I'm going to take notes.
Right.
Because I definitely want to give an informed and educated opinion on everything that we do.
Right.
So,
well, and I'll do what I can next week for people that are interested. One of the best wellness symposiums, wellness trainings that we've been involved in is now being done by Axon, which is the parent company of Taser, right?
Okay,
so
yeah.
Last year they did an entire week in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. So next week we'll actually be in Miami, and we have 2 different presentations, and we're going to be sitting on a expert
Wow.
panel talking about wellness and resources, and we call them life hacks. It's the tools to be able to catch yourself in difficult situations, and how you can pull yourself out of spiraling. And,
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, poor you. You're in South Padre Island. Then next week you'll be in Miami.
yeah.
So, but man, that's awesome, and I'm so happy and proud that you're out there doing this work, and I know that is real rewarding. And who'd have known that at our age we finally found what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Hey, well, that's you got to find your purpose for existing in this life, and that's what it is. But then, more importantly, once you do that, once you identify it, is that why you do it.
You're right.
And once you find the what, you've got to define what the why is, and once you can walk in your purpose, it's amazing. So.
All right. Well, hopefully we can get you next week, and I'll be in touch with y'all. And until then, McGee and Collins are out.